and welcome to the horror show. I'm Morgan.
I'm Cecil Laird.
And today we're going to be reviewing some found footage from 2012 called The Bay.
Directed by Barry Levinson, who notoriously has also directed Rain Man and Wag the Dog. So a little bit of a departure for the gentleman, I believe. The Bay is, as Morgan said, a found footage movie. And the idea behind it is basically there's a fledgling reporter that's sent to cover the 4th of July in the small town of Claridge, Maryland, as they're having their big celebration, and by the bay, all kinds of water activities and things like that. And as this reporter is covering the event, certain bad things start to unfold. There's a couple scientists are found dead in the bay, and then suddenly people start to arrive in town and crying out for help because they're covered in rashes and boils very suddenly. And as events progress, things get worse and worse. More and more people become infected with whatever it is. They get put into the hospital. And then the director of the hospital is actually put in the position to contact the CDC to find out what is happening in Claridge, Maryland. Have you guys seen this before? Unfortunately, the CDC has not, and so they're virtually no help. Beyond that, it just becomes about what happens as the reporter is trying to still cover the story because she's a fledgling reporter and she sees this as her big break. And unfortunately, she takes the time to document some very, very nasty things. And what ultimately they find out is infecting people is not quite the disease that you might think might be from some other movies out there.
So the lead reporter, Donna, is played by Heather Donahue, who is actually in Pitch Perfect.
And I don't think that she was the only one from some other popular movies in this movie, right?
Oh, definitely. You had Kristen Connolly from Cabin in the Woods.
Nice.
And Christopher Denham was in Shutter Island.
And you know what? The doctor, actually, who was played by Stephen Kunken, is currently in The Wolf of Wall Street. So definitely some nice actors. You get a good pedigree when you're watching The Bay. Now, as far as the found footage aspect, I wanted to ask you, was it effective for a found footage movie? Because I believe it was.
I think so. I liked that they used different types of found footage without getting like too creative, I want to say.
Right.
Because they used, you know, security camera footage and things like that.
It was not just the reporter's camera. That was what was nice about it.
Right. You had some stable cameras that weren't so shaky,
and you even had some.
It's realistic.
Yeah. You even had some scientists that were documenting what they were finding and trying to investigate, as scientists would, right? Because, you know, well, let's get this on camera. This is something like we've never seen before, and it's just natural that they're presenting this footage to us as the viewer, and it makes sense. It's not forced like some found footage movies are, and it allows the events to play out very naturally, as if it wasn't a found footage movie.
Well, it feels like a collection of evidence almost.
Absolutely.
So you get to watch the events unfold, much like a police officer might, to collect all the footage from what's going on.
Very much so, and they use that sort of in the framing device because it's in the future, and the reporter is now reflecting on the events and trying to get the truth out there about what happened in Claridge, Maryland.
Right.
So now I wanted to mention that, you know, the production design was pretty cool. You know, they just found a nice little town that was very homey and very, you know, like Americana. Exactly. They really got that feel down, clearly, if we both said it at the same time. They really nailed that aspect, and the cool thing about it is that the niceness of the Americana is hugely contrasted by the end of the movie, where there's just very few, a couple of people walking through and it's dead. It's like, you know, what happens to the town if all the people just disappeared, or things like that. It's, you know, it's got that eerie sort of thing going for it.
I feel like this movie had a lot more practical effects than it did. There wasn't a whole lot of CG.
Right. They used it to enhance certain things, like, you know, without spoiling anything, because when you do that, you can just click here and then you can check out all the spoilers you want. But for the time being, there are certain things that, you know, were assisted with the CG effects. We don't want to give away too much, but for the most part, like you said, it was very practical. And
a lot of rashes and skin boils.
Boils and
you know,
a lot, you know, what looks like, you know, a lot of the necrotizing fasciitis stuff that's out there in the real world, which is scary enough as it is.
And I think they did a good job with it too. I mean, it seemed realistic. I didn't feel like I was looking at somebody with a whole bunch of makeup all over them.
Agreed. And they, you know, there's scenes in the hospital where there's tons of people and they vary up everyone's, you know, wounds and whatnot. So it does look like it just spreads haphazardly. You know, there's so many found footage movies put out now. It's it's nice when you run across one that just kind of works on all of its aspects. So I feel like this definitely, the Bay definitely falls into that category.
Well, I feel like it definitely had a interesting twist that
right.
You think you totally know what's going on, but you don't.
It's
you
not,
definitely don't.
It's not your average disease movie, for sure. There's definitely more to it, and when you get to that point, you'll be like, oh, I see. And that's why we're not going to give it away currently. But again, you don't have long to wait if you want to find out.
Thanks for watching today's episode. If you want to check out The Bay, you can click the link below and sign up for a 30-day free subscription to Netflix.
Definitely a good way to go. Remember to like, share, and subscribe the video if you liked it. We really appreciate it if you would. And you can follow us on Twitter at HorrorShow666.
Or send us an email.
Right, you can do that too. Where's that?
The HorrorShow 666 at yahoo.com.
Hey, she's got it, guys. All right. So thanks again for watching. We really appreciate it. Go ahead and leave a comment below for the most unexpected thing you've seen in a found footage movie.
Thanks again, guys, for watching.
Stay scared.
Okay, bye.
That's a wrap.
Yeah.